Hello and welcome to today's conversation with Samantha Now of Now Insurance LLC. We're going to be talking with Samantha a little bit today about what it takes to effectively execute relationship-based sales and the power of building a community of people that you can grow and network with. It's not just about pulling business. It's about building relationships, because those relationships are also going to get you repeat, referral, and continuing business to help you grow your career in insurance. Samantha, thank you so much for taking the time to come up here from Pueblo, Colorado, and have this conversation to teach our ISMs how they can grow their businesses through relationship-based sales, which you're a natural at.
Thank you.
So my first question for you, Samantha, is in a conversation that we had a few weeks ago, you mentioned that you have to sell yourself before you can sell your product.
Right.
How do you sell yourself as an insurance professional?
Well, I think the first thing that I would say is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So that's pretty much how I do that. I always make people feel important. I make them feel valued. If you advise them, even though you know they may not go with you, then that's okay. One of the things I say all the time is not one person will ever make or break your business. And so if you just give them your all, they'll remember you when they do come back.
Yeah. You mentioned making people feel special and valued. Mm-hmm. What are some examples of ways that you do that, let's say for your customers to start with?
Mm-hmm. Well, I listen. I learn to listen. And so when you listen and hear what they're saying, they really aren't there just for that appointment. They're there to see if you care enough about them to give them what they need. And so if you hear what they're saying, then you can find their need and fill it. And when they know that you've done that, they'll stay with you.
I love that you said that, because when we also take the time to actively listen, like what you're talking about, we also give them the space, because what do we love doing as people? We love talking about ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. So when you listen and you ask questions about these people's lives and, you know, what they need and what they're stressed about, they're telling you everything you need to know to actually solve those problems.
Right. And one of the coolest things about that is it is also a great way to, when you have them tell you all their problems, it helps you to be on your toes to think about what you can also sell them next.
Ooh.
So it's a good cross-selling tool, maybe not for that appointment, but if you're really listening, you can jot that down and touch on it when you feel it's appropriate to bring that in to the conversation with them. So it's like layering.
Oh my gosh, I love that. See, that is exactly what I'm talking about. That's why I wanted to talk to you today, because you've got these ideas of, you are so forward and growth mindset oriented. I think that's why you're so successful. So you mentioned, you know, like taking a mental note so you can take a physical note on potential cross-sell and upsell opportunities for insurance. How do you manage that?
Within the appointment?
Just documenting for follow-up.
Well, I'm a notebook junkie, so I literally have a notebook I write everything in. So if I'm at an appointment, I'm trying to go more, internet-based, but I scan everything in, obviously, so I don't lose them, because I could lose that notebook. But I have a notebook, and at the appointment, I just ask them, I'm going to take notes because I want to make sure that I'm really hearing what you're saying. And sometimes I might forget if we get caught up in the moment, and they're like, oh, okay. And so then I always just scan it in. So then anytime they leave, I document the appointment. But the cool thing is I also go out and put it up for a follow-up. So one of the things that I do, I feel like I've done this my whole career, 30 years of working, is I send 5 cards a day, and they're snail mail cards. I know we have the layering of the email and the texting and the social media, all that stuff, but I still do those 5 cards a day, and they're not always to my customers. Sometimes they're to people like you and your family. How many times do you send your children a card in the mail, or send your mom a card in the mail? But when that happens, you never know who they're going to open it in front of, or everyone gets Christmas cards. I personally do not send them out because they get lost. I send out thank you cards. I send out birthday cards. I send out, hey, thinking of you cards, or I heard that, you lost someone in your family, whatever it is, or you had a baby. I send those cards. And then whenever I do that, you just log that activity, and and they're amazed because no one else does that anymore. And so that is key for me. And I just think it's being genuine.
Oh,
What we used to be like.
genuine. What a powerful word. Genuinely interested in the well-being of other people. That's the point of insurance, right?
Right.
It's not just about a paycheck. It's about actually helping people secure themselves and their families' futures.
Yes.
And so being thoughtful and critically creative. Another thing that you mentioned that I love because it's totally coming back is traditional methods to surprise and delight prospects and customers. Handwritten cards in the mail. Yeah, I mean, I get, birthday cards and Christmas cards with money from my parents. I'm almost 35 years old and I still get those. Thanks, Mom and Dad. But from a professional that most people don't even hear from once a year.
Right.
I hear those stories. People will subscribe to insurance and they'll have it for 15 years and even forget their agent's name, but they'll get those annual emails. This is your new premium,
Right.
And the fact that you're intentional about your community. Like, I'm not here to just renew your premiums. I want to make sure that you have what you need.
Right.
What a powerful method. And also we're in this massive shift, really since 2020, of everything going digital, everything going AI and automated and all these other things, which then brings us back to this innate desire for connection and community.
Right.
And you offer that. So you mentioned also, I like to document everything on paper too. So all of these special occasions and moments that matter to your prospects and customers, do you keep track of that through like different notebooks as well? Like, how organized are you in these notebooks is what I want to know.
Well, the notebooks are not organized. So I literally just log everything daily. So and you act upon them. You only touch paper once, right? That's what I have learned. Doesn't always happen, but you can always go back. And so sometimes if you're at a lull in your business and you're like, gosh, I really don't have any leads or whatever, flip through those daily logs of who's called in. Oh yeah, I could call them. It's just that simple. There's no really a method to that part of it. It's just a memory jogger and it's always there. And so you may or may need to follow up. There might be big leads where you put them on the calendar and you follow through, but maybe there isn't. Maybe somebody called in. I got a message last night from a person in Kansas and they said, so-and-so's father passed away. And so immediately I sent her a message, but I also went right in my office and grabbed a card because we don't have time to deal with it tomorrow. And then you don't have to worry about it. So things like that, there's no reason to it. You could probably get more detailed, but if you do it because it's the right thing to do, it doesn't go away. And there's probably a lot of people that could teach me a method to it, but I don't really have one of those. It's just something I can go back to and revisit.
Yeah.
My notebooks.
And the more opportunities I get to talk with you, Samantha, the more I'm starting to see themes about how you do your business. Correct me if I'm wrong. I see 3 fundamental themes. Okay. The first is genuine support for these people. The next is the amount of action that you take. We have a lot of ideas, right? We have a lot of wishes, but how much action do we actually take to fulfill those wishes or those desires, especially for our business? Because you sell, you market, you manage, you promote, you put boots to the ground to grow your business. I mean, that is a lot of action right there. And the third thing I noticed was intention as well. you reach out and connect with people. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Or are there any other like fundamental building blocks to how you grow your business?
Well, I wrote down a couple of things I think will generate a lot of thoughts. But I'll say there's two things that I do regularly, like it's not an option kind of thing. The number one thing that I've done forever is on the first or the second of every month, I do a planning or a design day. And I design that month of numbers. I work the numbers, you plan your work your plan. And I design my numbers. How many quotes do I need to do? How many people do I need to reach? You got to work your numbers. And then if I don't have a number, I don't know what to do. I flounder. And then I get tied up in what am I doing today? So if I just have those numbers, then I know intentionally what I'm going after for that month. And then I can revisit my focus when I get lost. And so that's a do thing. That's an activity that you can do, a task. I'm very task oriented. The second thing that I do without, this is just a have to thing, is I take care of me. And there's a couple of things that I do, and I wrote these down so I wouldn't forget because it's literally what I work on. There's 4 things that you have to do to create a lifestyle of choice. And it was not in my younger years. It's something my generation didn't learn early on. So unfortunately, I've had to learn later in my years. But there's 4 things. If you can control your emotional state, your financial state, your mental state, and your physical state, then the way you respond to your day, to your clients, to obstacles is going to be different if you didn't control those things. And how I do that is I do these every day. And if I fall short, which I do a lot, I remember them later on. I exercise, that's the physical part, and I eat for my body type. I read, that's the mental part. I don't do TV. I haven't for over 20 years. I will get on Netflix every now and then, but my kids didn't, have a normal childhood with no TV. They actually enjoy it. Now as adults, they're all 3 adults. They don't really have TV. One of my children has a TV, and they do Netflix and stuff, but the others don't. And I don't really do media anymore. I just find that it fills my brain too much when I'm in the car, so it just silence is best for me. My emotional state, you can pray, you can meditate. I do those daily. And then financial state is I work. So those are the 4 do things that I do every day, and then the monthly that I focus on without, I never miss, never. And it keeps my brain where it needs to be in order to keep going. So that's the do things. But I did write these things down, these fundamentals that you talked about.
Yeah.
I said this before, but make everyone know that they are valuable. That's the most important. One client will never make or break your business. I've said that. Treat others the way you want to be treated. So when you're being treated not so nicely, I really have to breathe through it and think, there's a bigger issue. Let's find out what it is. And then when you find out what that is and they know you're on their side, that's how you would want to be treated. And so that's what I try to remind myself of. This is something that I learned probably since 2019, is you have to slow down to speed up. And that has changed my world because I'm a doer. And sometimes I have to remind myself that sometimes when you slow down to connect with people or connect with a group or a team or a bonding time, sometimes you have to slow down in order to speed up. And I've learned that more so opening the agency is I'm not really great at those computer things and those setup things. And it feels like it's not an important part of my business, although it's the most important. I want to go out and meet people. I want to talk insurance, and doing those downloads aren't benefiting that. So I have to slow down in order to speed up, to utilize it to the best that I need with those systems. And so I tell myself, you have to slow down to speed up. Run your own race. Be you. You are enough. I've had to learn that over the years. This is really big, and I hear this a lot, and I do give my clients this advice a lot of times, is don't ever take advice from someone you wouldn't trade shoes with.
Ooh.
And so if you're struggling in your business or a marriage or whatever it may be, don't allow other people's opinions to determine if you're not going to trade shoes with them. and a lot of people have opinions. And so you can protect yourself from that. The more successful you are, I've had to remind my son of this, the more successful you are and the bigger the thinker that you are, the smaller your circle will be. And that's okay. And it is important because not everyone is at that level of success, and it's okay to not have the same people in your circle. So, and then this is my favorite. I learned this when I was raising my children and running a business is don't allow other people to steal your time. And so sometimes you have to realize that when you have set a time frame, you get to control that. You have to control it. Otherwise, people will take an entire afternoon, and then you're frustrated and behind. And so if you remember to set that intention of not allowing people to steal your time, family, friends, coworkers, whoever. And so those are some of the fundamentals that I live by.
Oh my gosh, there is so much to unpack there. I wish I had like half a day to talk to you about this because a lot of the things that you're saying, so slow down to speed up, that is a marketing motto because a lot of the work that we do has to be tracked. And that, setting up those processes and those integrations and those digital interfaces like you were talking about, it takes some time. Mm-hmm. Also, brand awareness, content creation, ideation, that all takes time. Mm-hmm. And the ability to slow down, to map out what things need to look like so you can get to a momentum to say, okay, this is a fine-tuned process. Mm-hmm. Now we can speed up and move through it. I think that is such a powerful thing to talk about. So are there any ways that you see, I have two questions for you. Are there any ways that you see the slow down to speed up model beneficial in other areas of your life?
Mm-hmm. Like family?
Like family, like relationship-based selling, networking, anything like that.
So all of it, really. Mm-hmm. Sometimes family will call and say, hey, do you want to, go here? And I'm like, oh, I have this goal set and I'm really working hard towards it, but I could do it next week. Sometimes that doesn't always feel good, but you have to remind them that you have to remind yourself that you have to remember to schedule those things before. You do have to slow down. You do have to spend time. You deserve it and they deserve it. But as far as, I'm trying to think if you could reiterate your question.
What are other areas of your life that you see the slow down to speed up?
So customers, networking groups as well. So I know we're going to get to that probably, but there's a lot of investment in a networking group, and it's in the group, it's in that hour that you spend together, but it's really outside of that group that is where magic happens. Because when you invest in other people, so you meet one-on-one with them, I go out and I don't know if this is where you want to throw it in or not, but I go out and I hand out business cards with a gift to different businesses just to let them know who I am. Sometimes you'll pick up a client, sometimes you'll pick up a business, things like that. But if you can meet with them for coffee, if you can meet with these business owners in these groups, get to know their business, pour into their business, they'll pour into your business. And they want to know more. They're intrigued enough to know more. Maybe you meet more than once. But these times, I hear a lot of people say, well, I don't have time for a networking group. I have too much business. Then you don't belong in a networking group. But the goal isn't for you to be the workhorse the rest of your life. The goal is to be able to, you're going to create this business, you're going to build it, and then you hire the people that can go out and work it. So it should be that standing appointment. You should never sacrifice an opportunity with a business owner to have coffee with them once a week or be in a group of 20, 25 people once a week because nobody cares about your business like you do. And so if you learn that the value of investing in other professionals, that they will take an interest in your business. And if you show up over and over and over, they know you're serious. You're their go-to person. Even if they don't use you. I've been in networking groups where they've already had an insurance agent. I don't ever intend to take that business from them because they have built that rapport with someone. But when that person is no longer, or they didn't fulfill their need, guess who they're going to turn to? Because they're going to turn to me because I have a trusted, invested relationship with them. And so even though they're not right away, they will be in the future. And if they're not, more power to that other person, because that's what we want every professional to be doing, right? Is to be invested in their people. And so it's unfortunate we have to pick up the pieces sometimes for the people that have let them down, and that's why they're angry at you. But you get to prove to them that you're different, and it's not the products are the same, but the service is what makes us unique and different from each other.
Yeah. And especially in insurance, I mean, we talk about this all the time, educating people on what insurance is actually for and how it's supposed to work for you. Because, you know, all of the major logos that we're all familiar with and their jingles and their fun little advertisements, they sell based on premium. And they teach their agents to sell based on premium, which means most of Americans, especially business owners, I came across a statistic that roughly 75% of business owners are underinsured because they're doing online quotes, they're not getting hands-on assessments, and they're not trained. They're business owners. They're not trained on how to fill out insurance questionnaires, right? That's why they need a dedicated advisor in the process.
Right.
And something that you mentioned about these networking groups that I just love, because we absolutely overcomplicate this when it is the simplest thing, which is being of value, investing in people, being relationship based in what we want to do. There's a marketing motto that I love. It's be of value and abundance will follow. And the best practices that you just talked about. Don't go into a networking event and say, here's my business card, let me write your insurance, because you're encroaching on a boundary that they've already established with someone else. That's someone else's relationship.
Right.
But what you're doing is you're saying, tell me more about your business, because that is their baby, right? It's another one of their kids if they have kids. Just like you said, nobody's going to care about your business as much as you do.
Right.
So having that curiosity and also understanding that about other people, it's reciprocal. So your most successful strategies that a lot of people aren't using is just being interested in other people.
Right.
Which is crazy that is now considered an innovative strategy.
Right.
You know? And when it comes to networking, you also mentioned that people will say, I'm too busy for those events. We tend to do that in our society, don't we? We hide behind our busyness.
Right.
When what we should do is we should say, I am being more intentional in these other areas of my business than networking or something like that. So I feel like busy is really an excuse to not go to a networking event, because when you're going alone, sometimes it's uncomfortable, you know, like for people who don't know how to start conversations, or they just get anxious around people, you know, social anxiety, things like that. So for people that avoid networking events because they're anxious about them, what would you recommend?
Well, because I started a few of them, I did all the training to each member. And so what I found was many people had that fear. I just looked at myself. It teaches you who doesn't want to learn how to stand in front of someone and talk to them. Who doesn't want to learn how to be vulnerable and learn from other people. And so when we went through these trainings, how to network and how to do your commercial and how to, you know, present yourself, what I found was, again, it had nothing to do with that. It had to do with when you're around people that you're invested in and they become your friends and your partners, you're more genuine, so you don't have to be that phony commercial person. You literally get to tell them about who you are and what you're needing that week in your business. And because they're invested in you and you're invested in them, it doesn't matter how it comes out. And so what I found is if you dive into the people, that all goes away. because now they're your friends. Now they're people that you know and that you're not as scared about. And so, again, it has nothing to do with the business. It has to do with the people that you surround yourself with. And you may or may not choose to work with them. It doesn't matter. It matters that you invest yourself in a relationship with them. And it doesn't matter if it's a marriage, if it's your children, your young children, or your adult children, your parents, your friends. You have to spend time with them. And you just have to master that time because you're busy.
Yeah.
But they'll respect that. If you set the boundary and the pace of it, then they'll respect that.
Oh.
So, I mean, you can teach all day long how to stand and do a commercial, but it's not effective until you are invested in the people, and then they so in turn invest in you. So it always goes back to the same thing.
Yeah.
This world is revolved on relationships. That's all it is.
Yes.
Get to intersperse everything else.
Yes.
That's all it is.
What would you recommend they do to start a conversation? Because I've heard from a lot of agents, that's the hardest part, is just getting a conversation going. Mm-hmm. So what are your best practices for that?
Well, I think in a networking group, it's a little easier because if they're established, they're going to make you feel comfortable because that's their job. They've already been trained. When they have a guest in the room, they know the value of that guest, so they're going to make that person feel warm and welcome. You don't really, when you walk into that, just go and let them guide you. So networking groups are fairly easy. I would say that chamber mixers, if you go to a nonprofit community event, those are a little bit harder. Again, it's not about you and your business card. It's about, can I get your business card? When you generate the question, hey, what do you do? Tell me more about you. Tell me, why are you here tonight? They'll hand you their business card. You make it all about them. And then at the awkward end, they're going to go, well, what do you do? Or they're going to walk away not even asking because they don't have that talent. And they come back and say, I never asked you for your business card. Or if they don't and you really connected, not that they're bad people or anything, you go back to them and say, hey, before I left, I wanted to give you my card too so we could connect sometime. It's not about the sale right then and there. It's literally about making sure if it's awkward, take all the emphasis off of you because people really don't know how to do that and put it all on them. And it becomes a friendship. It becomes, hey, that person was pretty cool. And guess what? When you keep showing up, like I said before, they're going to remember you. Oh, yeah, we talked last time. Or, hey, I saw you at the last event. Things like that.
And when you practice genuine curiosity and active listening, like you mentioned a few minutes ago, oh my gosh, right. Yes, you're taking all the pressure off of you. Mm-hmm. I love it. You are breaking this down into the teeniest, bite-sized, digestible practices to help people succeed. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting to me that the hardest part is relationships. And you also mentioned vulnerability, which I think is a powerful thing, especially in relationships. And the vulnerability to even have those hard conversations with your clients or with potential prospects or people that you just genuinely enjoy being around, whether it's in or out of networking events. Mm-hmm. Now, my final question for you is another theme that I see and I adore is your ability to set boundaries. We live in a society of yes and go, go, go. Mm-hmm. You find ways to take care of yourself, to be intentional with your relationships, to build goals and milestones for your business, and to teach people how to network. Mm-hmm. You have to have boundaries to wear that many hats, and you're a mom and a wife. Mm-hmm. You wear a lot of hats. Mm-hmm. So tell me, was building boundaries something innate for you, or was that a learned skill?
Well, it definitely is a learned skill, and it changes all the time. I think the question that I was looking at was balance. Is that right? Was the balance part?
Yes, work-life balance.
Okay. So yes, for 30 years I've been self-employed, and one of the things that I always did was I always had a word for the year. And one year, many years ago, I don't know what year, the word was balance. And I ran with it. Like that was when I had a word, that was what I focused on that whole year. I made it my theme word. I was really struggling with the word balance at that particular time because I had 3 boys. They were in soccer, competitive, so they traveled all over the state. Couldn't be in all those places. I ran a business, yada, yada, traveled a lot. I hated the word balance. It was starting to get to me, and I thought to myself, I went and I studied and I seeked out mentors. I took courses. I tried to find out how could I get this balance right, because I was not feeling it. I was feeling overwhelmed, not worthy. We tell ourselves all these things. And one day through my quiet time, I thought, what are you trying to do with this balance thing? Because I saw it as a teeter-totter. It's always up and down, and I didn't like that. I didn't like that feeling for my family. I didn't like it for my clients. There was never any clarity. Anytime I would hit a goal, I was crossing that finish line in chaos. It didn't feel like a win. And so then you start feeling like you're not living up to who you are as a person. And so then your mind starts doing weird things, right? And so the word that came to me was harmony, not balance. So I never use the word balance anymore because there is no balance. It's never this way. It's always like this. And so I kind of see it more of a circle, like a clock or something. However, you could do journeys, whatever you want. But I see it as a circle because your harmony is going to be different than my harmony. And my harmony is going to change when my kids were younger compared to teenagers, compared to young adults now. My work is changing. My lifestyle is changing. My careers have changed. And so when I see myself on this circle and life, chaos happens, I back up on the circle. And then I go take care of what I want, as long as it stays in that circle, because I'm intentional from month to month on what my goals are, because I planned it. Plan your work, work your plan. It doesn't take me off that teeter-totter. Sometimes you fall off the teeter-totter and you could never get back on because it's so high up, and you fell off and you can never get back on. So then you beat yourself up. When you're on that circle of harmony, you go back into the circle, you figure out what you need to figure. Kids get sick, tragic happens, whatever, and you get back on the circle and you just keep going. Sometimes you back up, sometimes, as long as you stay on that harmony. When you cross the finish line, it feels a little bit better because you're not trying to compete with someone else's design. You're not trying to live up to somebody else's potential of what they consider balance is. So find out what your harmony is, and when you cross the finish line and there is chaos, it feels so much better because you're not trying to live up to somebody else's teeter-totter. You're just walking your circle. And if we all kept in our circle of influence, circle of goals, circle of our intentions, wherever those are, then it's easier to stay in coordinates with your intentions, and the harmony is so much better, and you don't beat yourself up rather than teeter-tottering all the time and not living up to what you think balance is because someone told you what it was. So that's kind of how I give myself permission to fall short and keep going. So,
wow, Samantha.
Hopefully that makes sense.
Yes, it makes sense. Are you kidding me? I have never heard it portrayed that way. This is balance. It's almost impossible to achieve because our life is constantly changing.
And think about if you fell off when you're at the top.
Yeah.
Like you can fall off at the bottom, and then we do.
Yeah.
We fall off at the top a lot too.
But the consistency of the harmony.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and then I wrote something down too. This is what I wrote on the way here, the car.
Yeah, close us out with it.
Yes, because it's good. I hope I can just say it right. But it's about music. It's like music on a piece of paper. You know how you read music?
Sheet music, yeah.
Music, yes. So sheet music, you have all these notes, right? You have all these notes. Well, what do you have in between? You have the rests. And some are shorter rests, some are longer rests. And that's harmony. That creates a harmony. It creates your music. It creates your circle. And so when you write your own music and you create your own rests, those are the boundaries. Those are the intentions that you set. The notes are the intentions, the goals, the moving forward, the task, the doing, and then the rests are in between. And you get to create that and write that sheet of music. And so that's kind of how I see it.
Because that sheet is your life, and you're mapping out the music as you go. Oh.
Sometimes it's fast and rock and roll, and sometimes it's slow and jazzy, I guess.
Yeah, maybe throw in a little bit of classical in there.
Right?
What a beautiful example of what harmony can actually look like. And that's a big takeaway right there. The rest that is required for the music to continue. Samantha, thank you so much for sending us off on a good note. Thank you so much for your time today. It has been such a pleasure. I learn from you every time we get together, so I really appreciate it.